Welcome back to the Lovin Dubai show. Today's guests are Sahil Kumar and Salome Lewis. They're here to discuss how Decisive Zone is modernizing its banking system and also the challenges people are facing opening bank accounts. Also, we're going to touch on how to open businesses in the UAE. Welcome to the show. Thank you for being here.
Thanks for having us again.
Tuesday morning, experts back in the seat. Today we're talking bank accounts. Can we just jump right in? What are you guys doing to improve banking experiences for people in the UAE?
So currently, as you know, banking infrastructure has undergone massive changes in the recent years. So it is now more crucial than ever that while establishing your business, entrepreneurs get correct advice in terms of business activities and licensing jurisdictions, because the UAE is becoming more and more compliant with international KYC and compliance standards. I'll let Sahil continue.
Before I continue on, I want to give a shout out to our team. We're being invited to Baku, Azerbaijan. That's where the management's at from Millionaire Concept.
Cool.
So
what is that? That sounds fancy.
No, so it's a conference that we've been invited to. So shout out to the team. They're there receiving an award.
Congratulations, Decisive Zone.
Back to banking. As you know, we've been discussing over the weeks that a lot of businesses are being relocated here, and a lot of people are coming here and not just moving their existing business, but also starting a new one, right? So banking standards have to sort of keep up with that. So whether it's an SME or a small startup, or it's a large scale organization that's coming in, the UAE banking sector has been set up or is being sort of moved and pushed in a way where the entire standardization concept of banking itself has to be in the level playing field again. So that's why over the past decade, the banking system in the UAE has overgone massive changes, and that's what we want to discuss today.
Can you break this down as simply as possible for me? So let's pretend I'm a business owner of a startup. For my new lipstick. And if I come to you, you're helping me set up the business, so you've got me on the business license front. Now, do I need to set up a separate bank account for my business, or can I just run it through my personal bank account?
No, you have to get a corporate bank account, because when you're receiving funds from international or local from your clients, it has to go through, because there's so many scams going on. So when it's a personal account, it's not registered to your trade license. You require a trade license, and then that trade license is linked to your corporate bank account.
So separate bank account for my business. And then if I'm doing that, could you guys run through maybe some of the challenges that I might expect and how you guys help to fix those?
I mean, it's a case of, it's not a challenge per se. It's just a case of, KYC, right? Because it's more important that when you set up a business and open a subsequent bank account after that, because now that the tax regulation is coming into play, so that bank account plays a major role as well, right? So how we sort of facilitate opening bank accounts is we do a pre-flight check when a client gets on board. We have a list of documents where we do a sort of in-house KYC with clients and make sure that we find them the right solution that would fit their sort of banking needs, whether it may be, a small business that's looking forward to receiving funds, more international transfers, or it's a large scale business that does need, a higher turnover volume, etc. So we do an in-house check, and then we sort of recommend and, push it in the right direction of what the client would suit best.
What are the common questions people might have for you as they go into this kind of setting up a bank account with you? Is there kind of things that you'll get commonly asked?
How quick it would be. And that is something that people need to understand, because again, since we're matching international KYC standards, there are a lot of compliance checks that are going to go through. So depending on the correct documents you provide, like say financial statements, whatever the bank requires, that's the quickest it will be.
And why should I go with Decisive Zone rather than going directly to my bank?
Because that's where the speed comes into play, right? Because it's obviously a free for all, right? Anyone can set up a business and then they can walk into a bank with paperwork, because once we do set up the license, in essence, they have every document that is required to open a bank account on paper. But there are also some, there may be some confusion as to maybe they're looking, like I said, they're looking for higher turnover, but they might go into an online, facilitation in sort of banking sense, which may not suit their requirements, and then that causes another delay, and then it's a sort of snowball effect from there. So the reason we recommend business, individuals who are setting up businesses with us, that's the reason why we recommend them that let us just do a sort of pre-flight check. just so it's a case of one and done, right? Rather than applying, then reapplying, and then et cetera from that point on.
So during the pre-flight check, we do like to talk about red flags on the show. It could be about relationships or about businesses. It's all fun.
Yeah, I wouldn't know about that.
No, it's all good. It's all green flags on that front. But
You're wearing the colours.
as the red flag, is there any business red flag banking setups that you guys would kind of watch out for as someone comes to you and say, this is a red flag, we can help you? Or is there any kind of highlights or, I guess, fine print that you would look out for that you need to let us know about?
We would actually, while going through the documentation that a client provides us, there are a certain list of activities and certain list of nationalities, designated areas that are sort of more well-versed, sort of easier to get a bank account versus a bit more sort of time-consuming. Things like the crypto sector now, because it's just being started up, right? So for us, in order to get a bank account for clients for that sort of activity, it does require a bit more homework from our side, but then that's where we sort of work well amongst the lines and figure things out. Yeah.
And why is it important for banks to follow rules in terms of FATCA? And if you can kind of clarify a bit more on what that means for the audience.
Well, basically, UAE is now registered for both FATCA and CRS. So it's a federal law by the US to combat tax evasion. So it's a good thing that the government has now introduced that to the UAE, which makes sure that UAE is now still continues to be safe and compliant jurisdiction, and a compliant jurisdiction to set up your business within.
Yeah. So it's a case of documentation again. That's because I told you, like I mentioned, it's a case of a level playing field. You know what I mean? So because that regulation already exists for a long time in the North American market. So what the UAE has done is sort of implemented that in order to level playing field out. Yeah.
And speaking of level playing field, if we go back into small businesses, are you able to ensure that small businesses will have the same type of banking services as, say, like a big conglomerate?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. So depending on the client's requirements, there are two kinds of bank accounts as well. There's the traditional and then the digital bank account. So depending on what the client requires and the amount of money coming in, we can suggest. We have experts on our team, in-house banking team, who, like Sahil mentioned, will do a pre-check and give like proper timelines and ensure it's done smoothly.
Is it all done manually, or are you kind of looking at tech to improve this and make it a little bit more efficient?
So we streamlined a lot of our back-end processing in terms of paperwork, because obviously that's the biggest hassle when it comes to a small business owner or even a large conglomerate, right? Because for a small business owner, they're more focused on getting their business up and running. And when you go into a large conglomerate, you're talking about people who have, let's say, a board of directors. There's a long list of stakeholders that may be involved in getting papers signed off, documentation done. So what we do is we make sure that as soon as the business is set up, all the documentation comes to us at one part. And then from that point on, we just let the client take care of their business and let us take care of the sort of paperwork and that side of things. So that's where tech has come into play. And we've established a lot of, back-end AI processes to figure that out. Yeah.
And are there any future trends in banking that you guys would be able to speak on now that maybe future business owners would need to be aware of?
I mean, in terms of future trends, obviously we're looking at, in the UAE, we're looking at tax being, implemented pretty widespread, and that may impact, or I mean, I'm pretty sure it will impact to a certain degree, but then banking in itself has become so secure in the UAE at this moment, where you can, transfer of funds can be done within the span of 6 hours, and we're talking not just hundreds, we're talking thousands of dollars that can be sent over, like that. So in terms of that sort of being built over, I feel like it's just a case of, optimization of processes, and AI being, a huge sort of development factor in most business. It has to impact banking as well. Sure. As an assumption, yes.
We last week on the show we spoke about how Decisive Zone was in the States, and today you mentioned Azerbaijan. Are you guys, if you're international, what type of global trends do you see that you're bringing to the UAE market?
As you still know, UAE is the third least taxed country in the world, so that still remains one of the... Yeah.
Interesting. I'm not surprised, but it's an interesting stat. Okay.
So that is always one of the reasons, because the people want to move here, because in other countries the tax go about like 25% or more. So they can take advantage, and there's a certain threshold that you even cross. If you don't cross the threshold, you're paying 0%. So that is one of the reasons I see a lot of people internationally looking to set up a business here. And
so yeah, that has impacted relocation to a large percentage of it. I mean, you can't contribute a lot of the relocation that's being done here due to that. I mean, obviously, like we mentioned last week, safety, right? Like, key. So yeah, I mean, there's a lot of other factors that are going into it. I mean, you know, ease of money movement, ease of doing business, because now Dubai has become the link between the West and the East, essentially, right? So it's moving towards that direction. So there is a lot of business being flooded in, and us trying to work on, and you know, constantly trying to move into a sort of global market form, and still holding our sort of traditional core values at the center, sort of helps us draw that kind of business in, and then, you know, find the best solution for them. Yeah.
Every week we sit here and my understanding continues to evolve, but what I see is what Decisive does is make it hassle-free for business setup and visa setup in the UAE, which I think is amazing.
Yeah.
But if people would like more information on that, if you've just joined the show now, how can they get in touch with you to find out more?
You can always go onto our website. There's a direct line. Just get in touch with any of us, and or just Google the Decisive Zone. We're top. No worries. We're always there.
Guys, thank you so much for your time
thanks
this
for
morning.
having
thank
us
you so
again.
much for having us.
Really appreciated you coming
Appreciate
in
it.
on this beautiful Tuesday morning. We'll be back with you tomorrow morning, same time, same place. Have a brilliant day. Bye-bye. Cool. Where is Decisive Zone based? It's been business days, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah, because she mentioned the last day.
Wow, really?
Well,
After 3 weeks,
I
that's
knew
the
it was
first
business
question?
day.
Oh.
I was just trying to remember because I was like, where would you go back now? And are you full time in there, or is it like 5 days a week, or do you have remote working?
Full time in there.
Yeah,
Same. I think it's a UAE thing.
Yeah.
it's not just that.